Names are not given randomly in the ancient world. A name may identify the essential nature of a creature, so that giving a name may be an act of assigning the function that creature will have. Egyptian theory of the name was based on the principle that an essential relationship existed between the name and the named, a relationship between the name and the essence. Everything that can be gathered from a name says something about the essence of the named. Everything that can be said about the essence of a person can be ascribed to that person as a name. Decreeing destiny by giving a name is an act of authority. In Mesopotamia, the assigning of function is referred to as the decreeing of destiny. In other cases, the giving of a name is an act of discernment, in which the name is determined by circumstances. Adam's naming of the animals is his first step in subduing and ruling. He is fulfilling the role that he had by virtue of being in God's image. But it also leads him to realize that among the animals there is no social equal to share his function and place. Adam's own name meant human, a name that might sound meaningless until you understand how God sees us as humans. His masterpiece. This name communicates something about all men. Adam named his wife Eve, which means life, due to her being the mother of all who live. This name also communicates something about all women. When we give explanation of names, we usually talk about lexical history, the constituent parts of a name and the words they are derived from. In the ancient world, that was only one level of connection, and not necessarily the most important. Mesopotamian lexical lists connect words and find significance in them, based on phonemic and semantic elements as well. A connection that we treat less seriously, as we call it wordplay. In Egypt, the obtuse relationships were taken seriously, and suggest a greater appreciation of the power of language. They testify to a belief in the possibilities of language, a consciousness of language that is foreign to us, for we have come to understand the conventional nature of the signs of language. We speak of plays on words because we experience such a use of language which undermines the conventionality of signs in a cunning and usually amusing manner as playful. In Egypt, however, wordplay was regarded as a highly serious and controlled use of language, for language was understood to be a dimension of divine presence. The subject of names is interesting to me because I've always loved characters with iconic and meaningful names. Cloud Strife in Final Fantasy VII is a character whose mind is clouded and full of strife, for example. In the Bible, God changes Jacob's name to Israel. Jacob means he grasps the heel, which figuratively means he deceives. Israel means God fights, or to wrestle with God. Beyond character names, I've always loved video games, where you can earn titles and nicknames. In Legaia 2 Dual Saga, one example of this is cooking meals. You can earn the title of playing cook, student cook, and eventually pro cook by continuously cooking with the main character. If you cook all of Lang's 23 recipes, he earns the master cook title. If you complete all guild jobs that involve monsters, you get the title of Iron Hunter. These are only a few examples. Beyond that, I've always liked a tendency in Japanese games, and in the Asian martial arts, which is to give colorful and creative names to martial art techniques and combinations. An example is Lang's Hawk Stroke in Legaia 2. A more conventional name for the attack would be Jumping Downward Cut. While the conventional name is clear, it's longer and devoid of any feeling or sense of power. It also has no sense that the swordsman has made the technique his own and adapted it to his personality and style. Giving a name to a technique makes it meaningful for the martial artist. This makes it more likely for the martial artist to spend a lot of time with it, developing it to its fullest potential. The name gives it both a goal and a feeling you are trying to achieve with it, as well as a display of your understanding of the essence of that technique. For Lang, the technique is like a hawk flying down and striking his prey, utilizing his skill and gravity to deliver a powerful blow. This is the art part of martial arts. Fantasy media also tends to attach meaningful names to items like weapons. The Lord of the Rings is especially notable for this, with history behind the names of swords. For example, Okrist, which is also called the Goblin Cleaver, is an elven sword used in the Goblin Wars. It's known to have killed hundreds of goblins in its time. This name and the history attached to it gives the weapon more meaning and more power. The people who come across it recognize its power due to recognizing its name. It is a sword that has seen battle and is capable of killing many goblins. The goblins themselves hate it, calling it the Biter. Even the Goblin King in the Hobbit movies recognizes and fears its power. So, what's in a name? As long as the name is carefully thought out and functionally appropriate, a name gives meaning, identity, and purpose to an item or a person. The ability to give people or things names is evidence of being divinely made by God. Since God was careful with how he made his creation, we should emulate God's nature and character and how we use our God-given gifts. Red 13, or Nanaki, from Final Fantasy VII, says it pretty well when he said, "Hojo has named me Red 13, a name with no meaning whatsoever to me. Call me whatever you wish."